Grace and peace to you. Today I want to look at Hebrews 5, verse 8. Speaking of Jesus, it says, "Though being a son, he learned obedience from the things he suffered." That's an interesting phrase to me. He learned obedience. If he learned it, that implies that he did not know obedience beforehand. But how can that be true? Surely Jesus was never disobedient to the Father. Let's take a step back and get some context for this verse. Hebrews 5, 7 and 8. During the days of Jesus' earthly life, he offered up prayers and petitions with loud cries and tears to the one who could save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverence. Although he was a son, he learned obedience from what he suffered. Verse 7 is a reference to what Jesus did in the Garden of Gethsemane. Matthew 26:39. And going a little farther, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Jesus was facing the imminent ordeal of his crucifixion, when he would be humiliated, tortured, and brutally killed. This is the cup that he wished to be free of. The stress of knowing what he was about to endure was so great that Luke 22:44 says, "And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground." Sweating blood is called hematohydrosis, and is caused by small blood vessels around the sweat glands breaking during extreme stress. The blood then seeps into the sweat glands and flows out mixed with sweat. The temptation in his human flesh to reject the cross and disobey the Father was so great that in resisting it, Jesus literally sweat blood. This is what the author of Hebrews refers to when he tells his readers in chapter 12, verse 4, "You have not yet struggled to the point of shedding blood in your striving against sin." Obedience is the bending of one will to another. It is only truly possible when those wills do not agree. For example, if a mother says to her son, "Stop playing that video game and clean up your room," the son's will is to keep playing the game and ignore the mess in his room. Obedience requires him to give up what he wants in favor of what his mother wants. But if the mother had said, "Come eat pizza and ice cream," and the son loves pizza and ice cream, then it is agreement and not obedience when the son puts down his video game and runs to the kitchen table, because the son is doing what he wishes to do, which also happens to be what his mother told him to do. But no submission is required because their wills are in agreement. I believe this is how it was between God the Father and Jesus for all of eternity past before Gethsemane. That when the Father said things like, "Let's create humans in our image," Jesus replied, "Yes, that's a wonderful idea. Let's do that." The Son existing in total agreement with the Father. It was not until Jesus was required to suffer, which his human flesh hated and dearly wished to be let out of, that he had to bend his will to the will of the Father. Because Jesus, for the first time, wanted something different than what the Father wanted. For the first time, he did not agree, and had to obey. Thus, Jesus learned obedience from the things he suffered. If you find my work valuable, please read the description for ways you can show your support.